Her opening set was a 6-0 blank, then gave way. And now the entire world is keeping an eye on her next move in Abu Dhabi. The actual stakes, the viral drama, and the doubles match that no one anticipated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Tennis Champions, the location where we relive the game, not just watch it. Drama, we analyze the strain, and we crown the court's queens. I hope you're seated because of what I'm going to break it down for you today. Among the most complex, emotionally controversial tales that are now taking place in tennis for women. Furthermore, it is not only about tennis. It has to do with perseverance. It is concerning atonement. It concerns a 20-year-old Manila girl who has carried the aspirations of a whole country on when she was a teenager. Moreover, the impending moment of truth currently amid the scorching desert of Abu Dhabi. If you've been browsing reviewing the previous 48 hours of your feeds, you've already witnessed it. You've observed the videos. You've read the headlines. You've witnessed the indignation pouring every platform, ranging from Instagram to TikTok, Twitter. There has been an impending storm. Eala Alexandria. Furthermore, it is not only about her game of tennis. It has to do with how the way the world handles athletes who dare to come from a nation, the remaining sports historically ignored by the media. The viral White House dispute Caroline Leavitt, our press secretary, and the internet is on fire because of girl Alex. And whether you accept each and every element of that tale or not. Additionally, in the age nothing spreads more quickly on social media. As opposed to something that irritates the nerve, that there is genuine feeling behind it. The affection for Alex Eala is real. The rage on behalf of Filipino athletes do exist. Additionally, the Alex is feeling more and more pressure as she enters the Abu Dhabi courtroom.
Today.
That's as authentic as it gets. However, this is the problem. We are the winners.
Tennis.
We discuss more than just the drama. We dissect the game of tennis. We provide you the information. We tell you the truth. Occurred, what is truly at risk, and why this particular match at this particular moment. Today's match is more important than nearly everything else on the WTA schedule this week. So fasten your seatbelt. This is going to provide a ride. Let's begin with the Australian Open, as that's where this entire narrative actually starts to untangle. 3 weeks prior, Alex Eala strolled through a park in Melbourne as one of the most anticipated athletes in the women's tour. She was placed 49th in the globe, a professional peak. She had just arrived. Off a run to the ASB Classic semi-finals, visited Auckland, and had the Quam lifted Classic prize after defeating the Olympic Donovic, silver medalist. She was urinating. She exuded confidence. She even revealed the media before to her game. I would like to say I've never played anything better than this. Believe I'm having a wonderful time. Additionally, for she demonstrated it in one set. Alex sketched Alicia Parks, an American, in the first circular, an adversary who poses a threat when serving that has a top speed of around 200 kilometers per hour. However, during the first set, Eala was completely flawless. Parks was broken by her early, controlled each rally, and in only 34 she gave Parks a bagel after a few minutes. 6-love. Not even one game. The Filipino, the crowd on court 6 was going crazy. Insane. There are Philippine flags everywhere, yelling her name as if it were a football stadium. For that particular set, it appeared similar to what Alex Eala was going to say herself on the Grand Slam platform in the as strongly as possible. Next, everything broke down. Parks, an experienced who began participating in the tour in 2017, just regrouped. She discovered her serve. She began to strike her spots. She grew increasingly combative, and the energy, that lovely, delicate momentum that Eala had established began to evade her grasp. Parks rushed the second set 6-3, and the third set 6-2. It was a beautiful reversal. Eala managed to salvage 2 game points. She struggled, but Parks ultimately prevailed. Who left the court, and there was who remained to sign autographs for the numerous Filipino admirers who had come see her. Following the game, was kind. According to her, it was so endearing. That is among the things that somewhat mitigates a loss like today. A little more difficult. I am aware that many individuals where you could hear them cheering me on in her tone. The letdown was sincere, but so was the appreciation. This was her debut in the main draw of the Australian Open. This was a significant achievement. Additionally, even in loss, she carried herself with honor. Alex is that person. She is that person. Is. Keep that in mind because it's important for anything that follows. Thus, following where does she go, Melbourne? She leaves, returning home, returning to Manila, returning to the Philippines. Because the heels of the Australian Open, the nation was holding their inaugural WTA 125 competition, the first Philippine Women's Open. Additionally, for a girl who has pursued her dreams throughout her career, playing in front of a foreign audience, first time with a home audience at the professional level, it was something profoundly, intensely sentimental. Ella came in as the top-ranked and the second seed Filipino participant in the draw. She parted with a decisive 6-1, 6-2 triumph over Alina Kuriva of Russia, a victory in retaliation actually as a result of Kuriva beating her in 2020. Next, in the subsequent round, she killed Himeno Seketsum of Japan. 64-6 love is brutal and domineering. The Rizal Memorial Tennis Center patrons was electrifying. 2,000 seats are crammed together, chanting and singing each and every point. Then the quarterfinals arrived. Camila Osorio of Colombia, a former world number 33, an expert on clay court with equal parts grit and grind, stepped onto the court and just outperformed when it was most important. Took an early leads in both sets. She had a 3-2 lead in the first, leading 3-2 once more in the second. Osorio retaliated both times. The 64-6-4 was the final score. Closed tight, however, Osorio was ultimately the one who advanced. Following the game, Eala was gracious. "It was so," she said. One of the elements that makes it heartwarming is that somewhat mitigates a loss like today. A little more difficult. I am aware that many individuals where you could hear them cheering me on in the disappointment in her voice. Sincere, but so was the appreciation. Was her debut in the main draw of the Australian Open. Even in defeat, this was a significant accomplishment. She had a dignified demeanor. Is Alex. Keep that in mind. That, as everything depends on it. That follows, therefore following Melbourne. Where does she go? She returns home to Manila. Returning to the Philippines due to immediately following the Australian Open, the nation was holding its very first WTA 125 competition, the first women's open in the Philippines. And for a girl who has devoted her professional life to pursuing fantasies abroad, performing in front of a home audience for the first time at the professional level, it was something profoundly, deeply moved. Ella came in as the top-ranked and the second seed the draw's Filipino player opened with a decisive 6-1, 6-2 triumph over Alina Kuriva of Russia, a victory in retaliation actually as a result of Kuriva beating her back in 2020. Following that, in the second round, she killed Himeno Seketsum of Japan. 64-6 the crowd was cruel, domineering, and in love. The Rizal Memorial Tennis Center was electric, with 2,000 seats crammed in, chanting and singing each and every point. Then the quarterfinals arrived. Camila Osorio of Colombia, a former world number 33, an expert in clay courts with equal parts grit and grind, stepped onto the court and just outperformed at the most critical moment. Ella took early leads in both sets. She had a 3-2 advantage in the first, leading 3-2 once more in the second. Osorio retaliated both times. 64-6-4 was the final score. Tight, close, however, Osorio was ultimately the one who advanced. Eala handled it nicely. She talked to the crowded stadium following the game and declared, "I failed this level today, however, what matters is that I am present in Manila. Here I am in the Philippines. And I appreciate the presence of the WTA." She received $3,450 and 27 ranking points. In cash prizes. Not transformative figures, but for the game of tennis, and it was historic in the Philippines. The first ever Filipino-language WTA event soil, and their national hero provided the supporters 2 victories and a trip to the quarterfinals to after that. She packed her bags. And she took a plane to Abu Dhabi. Now, this where we must discuss the Mubala Abu Dhabi Open, since this isn't only any competition. This is a WTA 500 event. That is the second level of significance on the women's tour. Directly beneath the WTA, the Grand Slams, and 1,000 events is reward money totaling more than $1.2 million on 500 rating points for the line champion, and the odds are overwhelming. Belinda Bencic, the reigning champion, is the #1 seed. The Swiss multi-talented created one of the most outstanding last year's comebacks in tennis history, obtaining this distinction in just 10 months following the birth of her daughter. Elena Rybakina, the Wimbledon champion and 2022 champion, was in the draw at first, but has turned inside following her amazing run at the Australian Open. Alexandrova is the second seed. Emma Navarro, Paula Badosa. The list of names continues with Yelena Ostapenko. Is an important competition with important players, and Ella is entering it as a let that sink in. Wild card entry. For a brief moment, she is not seeded. Did not obtain her position through rankings. By herself. She needed to be given an invitation which reveals something. Regarding her position in the pecking order at this moment, even at number 49, and she remains the underdog in the world. It is yet up to her to prove something, and in the round of 32 today, that's exactly what she is to do. The location is Z Sports City International Tennis Center. Quick surface, hard courts, harsh glare, and whirling wind that can turn what appears to be a simple overhead becoming a total catastrophe if you lose concentrate for even a brief moment. It's a lovely arena, and it's already bustling with Filipino admirers who have went to Abu Dhabi merely to observe what has been observed on their girl play. The courts of practice in the days before up to the competition with a polished appearance, concentrating, grinning for the cameras. She previously shared on Instagram the event began. Hello everyone. I am really thrilled to return to the United Arab Emirates, and I is eager to play on the court. The enthusiasm she is bringing to this week. Thrill, not anxiety, not hesitancy, unadulterated competitiveness, and ladies and gentlemen, her rival, the Alex Eala, has been given something by draw. Intriguing, almost lyrical, because anticipating her throughout the round of Zion Sönmez of Turkey is 32. Now, if you've been watching Champions Tennis for a considerable amount of time, you are already aware of this name. However, if you are unfamiliar with it, let me illustrate. Zeynep Sönmez is a Turkish tennis player. Age 23, is rated 112th in the world. She is quickly rising. Hazardous, and she has a personal tale that has been winning people over recent developments in Europe and the Middle East weeks. During the Australian Open, Sönmez entered by qualifying, hence she had to battle for 3 rounds just to enter the main draw, and after she arrived, she stunned the 11th seed, Alexandrova Ekaterina, in the initial round. She then triumphed over Anna Bonder in 62-6-4 in straight sets to advance to the 3rd round, making her the first Turkish participant in the Open era to get to the Australian Open's 3rd round. Melbourne's Turkish population was so Sönmez spoke loudly and passionately. Reporters later, she was unable to even hear what I'm thinking. Her run concluded in round 3 against Kazakhstan's Yulia Pituta. It was a war in that match. Sönmez was defeated 6-3 in the opening set, however she fiercely retaliated to win the 2nd set in a tiebreak. The final, the 3rd set, was back and forth before Putin won 63. 3 sets a tiebreak. SC gave everything she had. And despite losing, she walked away from that court as a Turkish hero, so the woman into the court today to take against Eala is not a passive, undemanding foe. Riding a surge of self-assurance. Created history for her nation at a magnificent, she is playing the finest tennis of all time. Her profession, and she has unquestionably nothing to lose. But this is the point at which it becomes extremely fascinating, as this is not a match between 2 unfamiliar people. Ella and SC are acquainted with one another. Well, these 2 have come into contact several times, not only as rivals, but as companions. They were identical partners. At ITF, they played together. Occurrences in Slovakia and Luxembourg. Together, they advanced to the semi-finals. They have a history, therefore they train together. Is complex in the greatest manner imaginable. As opponents in singles on the court, Eala possessed the advantage. They first met at the ITF level in 2023 in Nantes, France, and Eala won. But more importantly, they encountered one another during the June Eastbourne Open of the previous year's qualifying rounds. It was a masterclass match from Eala. She was in charge from the first game, frequently shattering Sonmez and won in just 1 hour, 6-1, 6-3, and it was clinical, lasting 12 minutes. Brutal, and it set Eala on a historic run all the way to the Eastbourne final. The initial instance of a Filipino athlete has ever advanced to the WTA final, which she eventually lost to the Maya Joint from Australia in a tragic 3-set suspense film, wasting 4 points for the title in the tiebreak, but the path to that began with the victory over Sun. Thus Eala wins the head-to-head. Eala's experience on large stages is advantageous. Eala is ranked higher. On paper, this ought to be simple, but this is the aspect of tennis that casual viewers find appealing. Sometimes people forget. Rankings are just numbers. They represent moments in time. They don't take form into consideration for assurance, for the passion in a player's belly on any given day. As of present now, Sonmez has momentum, and Seuss's fire. Has an amazing run at the Australian Open, providing her a sense of belonging at this level. Additionally, Eala just finished a Grand Slam exit in the first round and a loss at home in the quarterfinals. She has not won a match in a WTA-level competition since prior to Melbourne. The pressure is intense. Additionally, the pressure on Abu Dhabi is it will be oppressive. Zanab Smez is a deserving rival. She is a companion, an ex-partner, as well as a player who has deserved to be on this stage. However, if Alex Eala appears as the incarnation of herself that she recently displayed in Miami, the version that blank parks in each year that Australian Open opening set, the version that devastated Eastbourne from the qualifying stage to the final. In the event that Alex Eala enters the Sams is headed to court in Abu Dhabi today to spend an extended afternoon. Eala is the leader in betting markets. Favorite. It is supported by the head-to-head. On paper, it is supported by the talent gap, but SC is not played on paper, whereas tennis is not going to this game in silence. A battle. Anticipate tension and anxiety from each side. However, if I had to choose, one person will survive this game. And go ahead, it's Eala. Narrow, competitive 3 sets, perhaps, but this is what champions tennis is, Eala. Everything. Not just the results, not just highlights, the entire narrative, the background, the human drama that underlies every court saw a single point. All across the world. Alex Eala is going to enter that Abu Dhabi court, and the whole Filipino athletic community will be observing. From Manila to the diaspora, from the admirers who went to the supporters who crowded Rizal, Melbourne Memorial Tennis Center, to the supporters who are scheduled to visit Zad Sports City today. They're all applauding her name, observing, all of them believing, and everyone is hopeful that today would be the Alex Eala tells everyone on this day that the world's doubters, critics, and the stage is precisely what she is composed of. The opponent is prepared. The pressure has never been higher. Alex Eala is going to perform the most significant match for her fledgling career. I have no idea about you, but I don't miss this for anything. Now, before I leave, I must hear from you, are the entire purpose of this community. What are your thoughts on the Alex Eala's current level of pressure? Is she capable of managing it and getting via Sonmez, or is the mental burden too much, and the Turkish celebrity succeeds the upset? What about the doubles? Draw, Jean versus Fernandez and Linovic? Do the two from Southeast Asia succeed? Or does the Filipino, a Canadian legend reminds everyone of her, is among the most captivating athletes on tour? Share your forecasts in the comments below. I've actually read every single one. I'm curious about what you consider. Who prevails? What is the score? Will there be 2 or 3 sets? Information. Additionally, if this video provided you with even a small portion of the thrill I experienced, do me a favor and put it together. It takes 1 second to click the like button, and it informs both the algorithm and myself that this is what you're looking for. Additional content. Sign up for Champions Tennis Ring that if you haven't already. Alert bell to ensure you never miss a breakdown as this one. We address every aspect, each narrative, and each match that matters. As Champions Tennis, we do not merely convey the news. We dissect the game. Until the next time, pay attention on the ball and continue to observe.
Peace out.
She revealed everything. Alexandra's startling choice that caused the world to weep. Tennis enthusiasts, hold on to your seats. Because the following information isn't just sports news. It is a moment that has fundamentally changed the course of history. Books of humanity in athletics. Saw winners hoist trophies. Saw legends smash records. But I've never seen anything like this. World where athletes battle to the death and nail for each and every dollar, whether the ultimate scoreboard for prizes is achievement. A young celebrity has she did the unimaginable by standing on the holding a check on the edge of fortune that would permanently alter anyone's life. Furthermore, she didn't only share it. Give me a piece of the pie, please. Alexandra, the lady of the moment, the advocate for astonished millions of fans on the court, globally, and relocated the stadium as a whole to complete quiet, then tears with a choice that is illogical. It describes unadulterated affection. Rather than retaining even a single penny of her enormous profits, she decided that has rendered her manager incredulous and her family in shock. What made her do it? Forced a young athlete to use her entire career ahead of her to divulge everything? And what transpired in the following moments when the cameras cut off? Pay attention because we are delving deeply into the most amazing, startling, and touching champions is this year's tale. Tennis. And you must hear the tale of Alexandra's simplest choice. Prior to the point at which it broke the internet, we must comprehend the stakes. You are unable to recognize the sacrifice if you're not aware of the cost. It wasn't a simple walk in the park. The competition preceding this, it was a taxing physical moment. Alexandra had been fighting in a nightmare. Through fatigue, fear of injury, and weak. The last game was 3 sets of absolute gladiators' retribution. The sun was shining. The humidity was oppressive, and her opponent was playing her tennis. Life. Every game was a battle, was a marathon, and by the time match point, Alexandra was struggling to breathe when they arrived. Her muscles and legs were heavy, screaming, but she went far deeper than she had previously. When she eventually ripped that winning cross-court forehand, in order to win, she collapsed with relief, as she had nothing else to offer.
Physically.
Could you please elaborate on the type of protest? Does President Trump endorse? I believe that for the United States, I believe it's a problem, especially for the juniors. Fantastic chance to learn about this level and this contest. I believe it is only natural that a loss results in disappointment as well as anger.